What's going on, everyone? Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. We had a big night last night. Obviously, was election night. I don't really talk too much about politics outside of my personal life. I believe I owned restaurants in the past. I've had 2 restaurants with my brother and my family, and the cardinal rule is you never talk about religion, you never talk about politics. So I keep that usually out of my business life, but I do have my opinions, and I actually do study it very deeply. People that know me know I'm very passionate about, my stances on both. The only thing I will say about it is the right man did win. You got to look at the optics of it. You have to look at a lot of different factors. You're not only looking at the person that's leading the charge. You got to look at his team behind him or his team behind her. And when you go through the nuts and bolts of it, there shouldn't have even been a question of who you should vote for. One guy was in office already, despite whether you think he did a good job or not. He's got his feet wet in that kind of atmosphere. Did he make some mistakes his first time around with certain people that he chose, certain people that had within his cabinet? Absolutely, you can make an argument for that. But when you look at the team that he assembled and you look at the people that are behind him that can actually help him lead, you got to look at it almost like if you're looking at sports, it's a super team. It really is a super team. You got him leading the charge. You got Tulsi Gabbard, who's fantastic. You got Vivek, who's fantastic. RFK, who's going to help the obesity situation in this country, where 60% of children in this country are now obese. This is a thing that he's very passionate about. You got one of the most intelligent men in the world, and Elon Musk in the cabinet with him. It's literally a super team. But then when you go on the other side, and the reason why I didn't bring a vice president up, because I'm going to bring that up in a minute, and when you go to the other side, you got a woman who was anointed. She was anointed. She didn't have to go through any kind of election process or get any kind of vote. She was kind of put in there as a vessel. That's basically what she was. She was a vessel. She avoided all situations when it came to interviews and anything that had to do with, not having a teleprompter. And it's just, she was not ready for this. Like, this is a woman who's not ready for this. This isn't a woman that you can have sit down with dictators where they're going to actually listen to her and fear her and respect her. Because I do believe in a situation like running the country, these other countries do have to have a semblance of fear of you. If they can walk all over you, they will, and that's just the clear bones about it. So in that aspect, you got to look at that. But then you got to also look at the vice presidential aspect. Not that it happens all the time. It does. It's very rarely that it does happen, if ever. But God forbid something happened to Donald Trump and someone else was going to run this country. The man that steps in, whether you knew him before or not, in J.D. Vance, this is a guy who at least has that stature where he looks like, yes, this guy we would be okay with him for the time that he's in. He's a very well-spoken guy. He's a very intelligent guy. Then you go over to the other side. What happens if something happens to Kamala Harris and you have this guy, Tim Walz, in office? Do you look at him? Do you actually think that guy can lead I don't think that guy can lead a state. Look what happened with Minnesota. Never mind the country. They got Liz Cheney and Dick Cheney behind them. They were the initiators of all war. Like, they were complete war hogs and warmongers. So the biggest lesson to be learned here, honestly, before we get into this card is, legacy media has had the greatest ability in the world 10 years ago. Before we had Twitter, before we had social media, before we had, the internet highway from, even longer than that, we couldn't do the research ourselves. We couldn't jump into the bare bones and strip everything down and make our own assumptions. Like, for instance, with religion, if somebody tells you what religion is and you can't do your crosstabs in the Bible to see, like, what do you believe? Do you really believe this or don't you believe this? It's the same thing. We never had anything in front of us for such a long time where we would listen to CNN and MSNBC and Fox News, and we took what they said, not as a grain of salt, we took it to be truth. We're at a point in time now with technology where I believe that technology is very good for situations like this. I can get my word out and I could talk sports and, all other things, but it's also bad. The internet, they're like, this whole technology thing is good and bad, but the good thing that it brings is it brings the truth. It brings the truth, and it allows us to kind of dig through the bullshit And it showed us now that legacy media is a lie. It's nothing but a lie. They made this race, this big close race. It's tight. It's so tight. It's going down to the wire. They slandered this guy. They did so many different things on both sides. They did it on both sides. But if you tear through the yellow tape and you looked and you did your own research, you really would never watch legacy media ever again. And it's almost like, bravo to everybody who did their homework and whatever side you chose. If you chose her side because you really dug through the yellow tape on her side and believe this is where you stand, bravo for you for sticking to your guns. But if you dug through the yellow tape on his side and realized a lot of it was nothing but lies, nothing but witch hunts and stuff like that, then bravo to you for standing firm on your ground and going out to vote for him. Majority of the country voted for him because they dug through the yellow tape and they saw a lot of this. Maybe not all of it, but a lot of this was a lie. So it's a lesson learned that you do your own research on everything. Even with something like this, we're talking about fights, we're talking about football. You can listen to me. I do all the homework. I'm working 40, 50 hours a week, digging through film and writing content and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, take what I give you, and then you go and you do your own research because there's more stuff out there for you. There's metrics that you can look at. There's film on YouTube that you can watch. So it's you just don't take the word for gospel. You do your own research, and the answer lies there. And I think that's what backfired in the Democrats' face. They really did not believe that Twitter and social media was as powerful as it really is. And Mark Cuban said it perfectly. And so many other people said it on the Democratic side. If you think that, Twitter is the is-all to be all, that's only a small fraction of the world. And yeah, there is a very small fraction of this country that goes on Twitter. But the fact of the matter is, if that small fraction of people are telling somebody, and then they're telling somebody, and then they're telling somebody, then you got a chain reaction of truth. So I'll leave it there. Let's hope this country gets back on track. Let's hope we can get our children healthy again. Let's hope that we can, get back into the place that we once were. And I will leave it at that. But arguing with your family, arguing with your friends, losing friendships over it isn't worth it. I've lost friendships over this. I'm not going to lie. I've had arguments with some family members and stuff like that. That's all personal, internal stuff. But to me, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. At the end of the day, it's politics. At the end of the day, it's politics. And you can't replace 30-year friendships, and you can't replace family. So just keep that in mind. It's fun. We all have our personal beliefs. We stand by them firmly. That's what makes this country great. But at the end of the day, it's not worth ruining relationships over. So